Hey, all right. Welcome back to Raff's Brain, a show about things that are interesting to me. This is your host, Rob Raffety, for episode 74 of Raff's Brain. Folks, Sundance or Bust. That's the title of the show. I'm recording it in the early afternoon of January 26th. Just in a few short hours, I will be heading down to DCA, flying across the country to SLC, Salt Lake City, hopping in Uber. Where? To Park City, Utah. What for? The Sundance Film Festival. Yes, the 2025 Sundance Film Festival. I am going to be there on the ground all week. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful to my hosts, the Moving Picture Institute, which is gathering a small number of filmmakers and storytellers to connect, to learn, to grow together in our passion for freedom in film. So I am just really, really excited about the coming week. And I want to talk about it on the podcast. I want to gather some content while I'm out there in Park City and share it with all of my listeners. So what's on tap for this episode today? First, a little bit about the Moving Picture Institute. This is my host and sponsor for the week. I'm really so grateful for them. And I've gotten to know these folks over the past, 10, 12 years. Remarkable work that they're doing. I want to share that with you, get you excited, get you connected to it. I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing in Sundance, because it's not just there to watch movies. We're going to have all sorts of workshops, opportunities to network, learn, grow together as filmmakers, as creators, as storytellers. That's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, I'll get to share with you some of the movies, just a taste of a few of the movies that I might be seeing while I'm at Sundance. So buckle up. It's going to be a great episode, and hopefully the first of several that will be on this theme of the Sundance Film Festival. I'm going to be talking to folks out there all week long, gathering content, packaging it up, and shipping it out. So if you're not already a subscriber to Raff's Brain, now's the chance to get on board. All right, so first off, what is the Moving Picture Institute? Check out their website, thempi.org, and you'll discover that MPI is a production company and talent incubator. They create high-impact films that are entertaining, inspirational, educational, and they're really just trying to tell captivating stories about human freedom. In short, MPI is all about freedom in film. And if you know me, you know that I love freedom and I love film. So I'm all about this. I really do think that MPI has extraordinarily important mission, and they're doing such a great job out there in the world. They were founded in 2005. That's 20 years ago. So they've been doing this for decades. And they know that stories can change the world. Stories about freedom can change the way people think about how to diagnose and solve problems, right? So this is very exciting stuff. They have two capabilities, and this is how they advance their mission. They produce original content in-house, short films, feature-length films. So they produce content, and they also help launch new storytellers and filmmakers through their workshops and labs. So it's kind of like a two-pronged approach. They produce content of high quality, freedom in film stories, really great stuff. And then they also train up the next generation of great freedom-oriented storytellers. So in terms of their original films, they're, like I said, short form, long form, and they've reached over those decades hundreds of millions of people through all the popular distribution platforms, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Hulu, YouTube. Their films and filmmakers constantly win awards. Their films and content screens at top-tier festivals like Tribeca, South by Southwest. So they're highly legitimate, super integrated, and I would say increasingly important players in the space. In addition to those films that they make, they have a rising young filmmaker program that identifies, trains, and supports a growing network of freedom-oriented, freedom-minded directors, screenwriters, producers, storytellers, industry executives. Basically, they're putting the dots together. They're helping these creatives who have shared perspectives to connect and learn from each other, collaborate, grow. They invest in young filmmakers at key points in their career, key inflection points to help them achieve success, to make the next step in their career, to develop high impact concepts and scripts. And they even acquire some of the scripts from the labs that they host and produce those as MPI original films. It's a really cool model, and I'm just so grateful to be a guest of theirs at Sundance. If you go to their website, thempi.org, you can get connected with some of their feature films and short films, learn more about them. I mean, they just got a great library, and it's growing. You know, films like Pinball, The Man Who Saved the Game, by the Bragg brothers, a couple of just extraordinarily gifted comic writers and performers and storytellers here in the DC area. I'm good friends with them, and that's a great movie if you haven't seen it yet. It was like one of the New Yorker's top 10 films of 2024. So you got to see that, man. It's great stuff. And I just actually got to see a early screening of Motherland, which will be coming out very soon. It's a more sort of dark dystopian take on the threats of groupthink and uniformity. And so I think that's also going to be a hit on the circuit as it gets out there. And they just announced recently that they had this movie Coolidge that they have, they're going to be writing a feature film about the Coolidge book. Amity Shlaes wrote that book, and that's going to be cool. I'm wondering how they're going to adapt that in a compelling way, but I know that they will. It's very, very good stuff. Other movies like Freedom Hair, Miss Virginia, Kemba. I just got an email earlier this week, in fact, about Kemba, because listen, man, the work they do matters, and this is a great articulation of it. Kemba's story is depicted in this MPI and BET original feature films. They partnered on that distribution with BET. It's a story of resilience, courage, relentless pursuit of justice. A young college girl named Kemba becomes entangled with this terrible partner, an abusive relationship. He turns out to be a drug kingpin. Although she's not directly involved in the handling or dealing of drugs herself, really just through some tragic turns of event, Kemba is sentenced to 24 and a half years in prison due to mandatory federal sentencing laws. And those are harsh. That's a harsh penalty given the gravity of the crime. And, for this particular story, in 2000, after serving 6.5 years, President Clinton commuted Kemba's sentence and granted her the opportunity to rebuild her life. And that's what she's been doing over the past 25 years. She's been a leading advocate for criminal justice reform, using her story to educate others about the devastating effects of mandatory minimums. And listen to this. Just last week, you may have heard, maybe it was like 2 weeks ago, President Biden issued a full pardon to Kemba, expunging her criminal record, restoring her civil rights. So that's another step for her opportunity to rebuild her life. And that's extraordinary. The story of Kemba, which is depicted in this movie, also has like legs, because those issues of over-criminalization and the failure of the drug war and excessive punishments for drug-related crimes, this has really helped elevate a conversation. And that's really what MPI is trying to do, to tell compelling, moving stories about ideas that matter, that can ultimately lead to change in our positive change in society. So that's a great example of it. You should check out KembaMovie.com to learn more, to watch the film. But I thought that was a cool announcement in terms of the impact of their work, the long legs often of the creative content that they produce. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, Pinball, super funny movie, poignant. It's about a GQ journalist and pinball wizard in 1976 helps overturn New York City's 35-year ban on pinball. It's a playful take, and you might say, well, what's the big deal about banning pinball? Well, it's the ethos, it's the approach, it's the idea that something like that should ever be subject to the type of strict regulation that it once was. And sometimes we forget about those stories. We just assume, oh yeah, pinball, has it ever been really a problem? Well, sometimes we should not forget our history and take a step back. And this does a great job telling that story in a fun, clever, thought-provoking way. Now, in addition to those feature and short films and content they produce, they also have these rising filmmaker programs, internships, labs, workshops, all sorts of cool stuff, a whole network of freedom-minded filmmakers. I'm one person within a much broader universe, hundreds and hundreds of really cool, exciting, dynamic, accomplished professionals, and it's just really neat to be a part of that. In terms of my own relation, I first got formally connected to MPI in 2014 as an MPI fellow. They supported my zany Capitol Hill-based web series called Cap South. If you go to capsouththeseries.com, you can check out all the episodes and content on YouTube, where it still lives today. Tens of thousands of views. It's been a lot of fun just reflecting on that and the growth that I've had as a storyteller and creator since then. But that's really was my first big foray into the web series space. And I couldn't have done it without MPI's help. We bootstrapped it together. A little bit of money went a long way, and we had a lot of fun. And some of the artists and actors and talent that I worked with in that are still doing great stuff today. So that's how I first got to know these folks. I then attended a cinematography workshop out in Los Angeles, about a week long, and that was a blast. Ben Gaskill was really running the show there and helped me get a much clearer understanding of the craft of cinematography. And although I don't think I'll be a cinematographer myself, I can speak the language and work more closely with those who do pursue that, and function better in partnership with them to execute the story visually that we're trying to tell, to get the types of emotional reactions we want from our audience. In 2024, this past year, I was in the Short Film Lab and Director's Workshop. Those are primarily online experiences, although there was one visit out to Los Angeles for the Director's Workshop, which was extraordinary. I'm telling you, these are great programs. You get to write, rewrite, rehash, get feedback. In that Short Film Lab, I was doing a comedy short about free speech, and got to work with and get feedback from the Bragg brothers, the writers of the Pinball movie I mentioned earlier. So man, good stuff, and I just can't recommend them enough. So if you have any interest at all in these ideas of liberty, freedom, openness, pluralism, tolerance, peace, free speech, broadly speaking, freedom in society, and you're interested in art and storytelling and filmmaking in particular, hit them up, www.thempi.org. You will not regret it. It's a great organization, and you might want to get connected and get involved. So they're my sponsor. I'm going to be heading out there with a small group of other artists to the 2025 Sundance Film Festival, which runs from the 26th of January to the 31st. I'm going to be out there all week, hitting it up. And I've never been to Utah, never been to Park City, so I'm really excited, man. It's going to be a great time. A couple things are going to be hitting up there just to give you a sense of the agenda. Of course, there's going to be some social gatherings, some networking opportunities. On Monday afternoon, we have a private luncheon at a place called the Nelson Cottage, which is a very sort of well-reviewed and iconic venue there in Park City. So I'm looking forward to that, getting to know my fellow MPI filmmakers a little bit better, learning about them, learning from them as I further my own efforts and storytelling. We're also going to be graciously, through the guests, through the support of MPI, connected to the Wind Rider Summit, which has been going on at the Sundance Film Festival for many years. Wind Rider is also a production company and nonprofit. If you go to their website, you can get some history about them. Co-founded by John and Ed Priddy and Will Stolerly and Dr. Craig Detweiler. They got together in 2004 to explore the possibilities of immersive educational experience at Sundance, with the idea that Sundance Film Festival could provide a dynamic learning laboratory for students to engage in cultural dialogue as it takes shape. So Wind Rider has grown over the years to serve as a leadership forum, international short film showcase, producer and content resource provider to inspire people to create, view, and discuss visual media that addresses life's ultimate questions. Good stuff. Google Wind Rider and you'll learn more about that organization. The key point is they have kind of on a parallel track out during the same time as the Sundance Film Festival, and in partnership with the film festival, they have their own series of workshops, panel discussions, film screenings, and we're going to be, as MPI attendees, integrated into that. In fact, a little teaser, on Tuesday, MPI original film Freedom Hair is going to be honored with the 2025 Amplify Award from Wind Rider Studios. This is big deal, folks. This celebrates this award celebrates films that amplify the voices and perspectives of the BIPOC community, both on screen and behind the camera. The stories recognized with this award educate people about history, resilience, and the transformative power of storytelling. So this is a big movie for MPI. It's a great recognition of the importance of their work. What I'm excited about most is the executive producer and subject of the film, Melanie Armstrong, will be on hand at the event to accept the award, participate in a Q&A session, offer audiences deeper insights into the journey behind the film, its message of empowerment. If you're not familiar with this movie, Freedom Hair, it's awesome. Highly recommend it. It's gotten so many accolades, so many screenings, so many festival acknowledgments. If you looked it up online, you could see the trailer. You could also find a place to watch the full film. It's based on the story of, like, as I mentioned, who's involved here, Melanie Armstrong. And it talks about her time as a mother. She's working at a shelter for battered women, and she decides to start a natural hair braiding business. She's an entrepreneur. She's a startup. She wants to get out there, create value for others, apply her gifts and talents in the world in a way that creates enormous benefit, mutual benefit for herself and for others. But she encounters these barriers, occupational licensing barriers, and others who are using regulation and essentially to prevent her from succeeding. And she has to overcome those barriers and obstacles that are essentially run by a powerful cartel in the state of Mississippi. So check it out, Freedom Hair. We're going to get a nice opportunity to recognize Melanie and MPI at that ceremony later this week, where they'll receive an award for the movie and the impact of that movie. So great stuff. Should be a great time. We also have a dinner coming up. I think it's on Tuesday night. The filmmakers of the MPI cohort are going to get together at a place called Handle. I looked it up and I have a picture of it there on my slide deck in Park City. It looks like a wonderful venue. And again, more opportunity to connect, network, and make friends for life, right? It's so important when you're a creative person. You can't do it alone. You got to work. You got to collaborate. You got to find folks who have a similar sympathy for individuality and openness and freedom. So that's, to me, a huge opportunity this week to meet, connect with, and learn from other like-minded filmmakers. And then, of course, finally, there's a lot of films at Sundance. Let's not forget about it's a film festival, right? So this has been a fun journey, man. We got the printable program guide sent to us several weeks ago, and we've been going through that. And then a few of us volunteered to get the tickets online. It was basically, for those of you who have ever participated in a ticket drop, maybe you've done this on Ticketmaster or some other platform, when a concert or performance has come into town, you got to be there at a certain time. Everyone just descends like madness on the website, and it jams up the site, and things get slow, and you get the spinning wheel of death and all that good stuff. Yes, we experienced that, but basically 4 of us of this group volunteered to get on together. We had a shared hangout call, and we're able to secure tickets to a whole bunch of movies. And then we're going to split up the tickets when we get there, and we're just going to figure it out. Everyone's going to get to go to several movies, and we'll all see something cool. I'm sure we'll all see things they never even expected or anticipated seeing as well. But hey, just roll with the punches, have a good time. I'm just grateful to be there. That's how I feel about it. So here's just a few of the movies we have tickets for. I won't see all these movies, but I'll see some of them, and I don't know which ones that's going to be yet. We're going to figure it out. I think no matter what, it's going to be awesome. So here's a couple that we have tickets for, and I'll just give you like the log line to each of them, and then it's a little bit of a teaser. And if as I do see those movies over the course of the week, I'll be taking copious notes, getting feedback, getting reactions from folks, and sharing that with the audience in future episodes. So a couple different feature-length movies that we might be seeing. One's called The Legend of Ochi. In a remote village on the island of Carpathia, a farm girl named Yuri is raised to fear an animal species known as Ochi. But when Yuri discovers a wounded baby Ochi and has left behind, she escapes on an adventure to bring him home. That sounds fun. That sounds good. That sounds like a Disney movie to me. But Willem Dafoe's in it, so that's pretty cool. I'm a fan. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. Emma Watson's in it. Willem Dafoe. It's got a obviously A-list cast, so that should be fun to check out. Atropia. This is another movie. Atropia. This sounds really weird, but I don't know. I really hope I get the chance to see this one. Atropia. When an aspiring actress in a military role-playing facility falls in love with a soldier cast as an insurgent, Their unsimulated emotions threaten to derail the performance. You can just imagine all the different directions you could go with a storyline like that. It's so original. And of course, timely, given some of the conflicts that are taking place in the world. So I'm excited. Hopefully I'll get to see that one. If not, I'll definitely catch it later on whenever it's released more broadly. Another movie, Serious People. Serious People is a successful music video director and expectant father pushes his work-life balance to an extreme as he hires a doppelganger to work in his stead. When I read that, log line, I kind of felt like Multiplicity, that old Michael Keaton movie from the 90s where he gets Xeroxes of himself. That's just generally what I'm thinking about here, but I'm sure it's highly original and has its own spin and unique approach. But yes, sometimes we all feel like we wish we could hire some doppelgangers to take on other parts of our lives. So definitely relatable. Serious People. Maybe I'll get to see that one. Here's a documentary, Move Ya Body, The Birth of House. Out of the underground dance clubs on the south side of Chicago, a group of friends turns a new sound into a global movement. That sounds pretty wild. When I think of south side of Chicago, I think Jim Croce, Bad Leroy Brown. I'm sure it's a different type of music altogether. But anyway, that might be a fun one to check out. Here's another fictional story feature. And this is, to me, the most bizarre logline of any film that's screening at Sundance this week. It sounds just intriguing on the face of it. By Design is the name of the movie. It's about a woman swaps bodies with a chair. Yes, a woman swaps bodies with a chair, and everyone likes her better as a chair. That's the logline. How could you not want to see that movie? And guess what? It has Juliette Lewis, Melanie Griffith. This has got some great talent. It's going to be interesting. I just don't know where they're going to go with it, but I'm curious. Consider me super curious. I want to see that. I hope I get a chance to see it. Back in the documentary feature films, we have this one called Zodiac Killer Project. Zodiac Killer Project. Against the backdrop of sun-baked parking lots, deserted courthouses, and empty suburban homes, the familiar spaces of true crime, stripped of all action and spectacle. A filmmaker describes his abandoned Zodiac Killer documentary and probes the inner workings of a genre at saturation point. So I think that'll be interesting. It sounds like this is basically a documentary about a failed project on the Zodiac Killer, and it may really raise some interesting questions. I can't tell. I'm just judging only by this brief description here that raises questions about that genre of sort of real crime, true crime. And I listen to some of those shows occasionally, and certainly podcasts are a very popular format for that. But sometimes I wonder about it. Is it too sensational? Should I be entertained by the real harms that others have experienced? So anyway, I think it's going to be an interesting movie, and hopefully I'll get to check that one out. A couple more. Twinless, which I think immediately, like the movie Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm sure it's not like that at all. But Twinless. Two young men meet in a twin bereavement support group and form an unlikely bromance. So that should be cool, fun. It sounds like a kind of an original take. Another documentary that I think is going to be great. I mean, I can't wait to see this one. It's so on point. And it's produced and directed by Barry Levinson. This dude's like Jedi level, right? So it's Evie and Vanessa, two 14-year-olds living in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, best friends despite their opposing political beliefs. As nationwide disputes over public education explode into vitriol and division in their hometown, the girls and others in the community fight to discover the humanity in the other side. So I don't know where it's going to go, what the ultimate takeaway is going to be, but hopefully there's something there about bridging divides, bringing people together, seeing our common humanity, even if we have really different opinions. We can still respect each other and still acknowledge the humanity of those with whom we disagree. We sometimes have lost sight of that. So I'm hoping that's an optimistic message for our country. It could be very timely in that regard too. Another movie here called Obex, which sounds really cool and has as its director Albert Burney, who I'm just a big fan of his work. Strawberry Mansion, Silvio. I was a big fan of Silvio, and you just got to check this guy's work out. He's out of Baltimore, so not too far away. Bottom line, this movie is called Obex. Here's the summary. Connor Marsh lives a secluded life with his dog Sandy until one day he begins playing Obex, a new state-of-the-art computer game. When Sandy goes missing, the line between reality and game blurs, and Connor must venture into the strange world of Obex to bring her home. So, trust me, if you've watched any of this other work from this artist, this is going to be a great movie. I really want to see. If you had to ask me, like, which one do I really, really want to see, that is going to be high on the list. I'm a big fan of that work. In fact, I was like on the Kickstarter for Silvio. That was back in 2016, 2017. So I've been a fan of this guy's work for a long time. Maybe I'll get the chance to meet him. That would be cool, man. Oh my gosh. You never know. There's also, aside from the films, the feature films, they have other showcases, including episodic pilots. So there's one episodic pilot showcase where you get to see 3 episodic pilots. These are concepts that could eventually be, I guess, bought and sold as a series. One's called Bulldozer. It's a fiction. It says, undermedicated, chronically impassioned young woman lurches from crisis to crisis of her own making. It kind of reminds me, just in the description, of Fleabag. Who knows where that's going, but hopefully get to check that one out if I get to the episodic pilot showcase. Next one called Chasers, also a fiction. At a Los Angeles house party, an aspiring musician pursues her crush through a crowd of hopeful dreamers chasing empty promises. So that could be good. And then Never Get Busted. This is from Australia, which sounds, it's a little different, nonfiction. So again, it's a series, maybe like a reality type series. Barry Cooper was a highly decorated Texas narcotics officer until he turned on the police force by busting crooked cops and teaching drug users how to hide their stash. So that should be interesting. All those 3 could be fun as a series of pilots to check out. And then finally, there are multiple shorts programs. And that's where it's fun to go, because you might catch like emerging talent. You might see someone that you really like there, get to meet them at a young age, point of their career, and then a couple years they'll have a feature here or some other prominent film festival. So that's the cool part of going to these shorts festivals. And also, if you go to the short sessions, you can kind of imagine, well, what would it be like to have my own film on that screen someday as an aspiring, screener at Sundance. That's a pretty big aspiration. I mean, they get thousands and thousands of submissions, no doubt. But yeah, we have tickets to one of those short film programs, the Program 5, which has a pretty diverse lineup of films. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those and hopefully just meeting a lot of other creatives out there. In terms of the content plans for the week, so yeah, I'm going to be heading out here very shortly to catch a flight. When I hit the ground, I want to start just documenting the experience. I have some thoughts and ideas. I welcome your feedback, suggestions. If you have ideas as well, I'd be happy to accommodate. But I'm going to definitely try to interview some of the MPI staff on the ground, as well as some of the fellow filmmakers, the guests of MPI, just about who they are, what they do, why they're involved, what they're excited about, what projects they're working on. It's an opportunity for me to just get to know these folks, to document that, to share who they are with my listening audience, and that could be mutually beneficial for everyone involved. I also, there's a whole group of us, by the way. There's like 6 filmmakers, 4 MPI team members going. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of them much better over the coming week. Interviews with other Sundance attendees. Like I said, you never know who you're going to meet. And if I can run into someone there that's willing to talk on the record with me for Raff's Brain, I'll certainly do that as best I can. And then finally, movie reviews. If I do go to any of those movies I just described or others that I didn't mention, because there are lots of movies playing out there this week, I'm going to try to grab my own thoughts, immediate, instant reactions, and maybe some of the other folks who are attending with me and just kind of mash that together. And maybe coming out of this event, I'll have some great movie recommendations for you this spring and fall, or I guess summer and fall. A lot of the movies that screen at Sundance get acquired and then distributed, right? So I'm sure I'll be seeing some stuff that we'll hear about later in the year when it goes for broader release. Finally, I'll have a recap episode, probably maybe this time next week. I'll be able to reflect on the entire experience from start to finish, take some notes as I'm going, talk about what I learned, what I didn't expect, maybe some of the unusual things that happen out there, something that surprised me. I don't know. We're going to see where that goes, but I can imagine a lot of content coming up in the next week, folks. If you have any suggestions, ideas, let me know. Hit me up, man. You know I have a call-in number for this show, 571-408-8058. Or you can just reach out to me directly, raffety@gmail.com. All right, that's it for this episode of Raff's Brain. I'm going to get on the flight really soon. Wish me well. Safe travels. Until next time, have an exceptional day. All right.